You don't have to speak into the mic.
He's ready for his close-up.
Our bucket list number 2.
This one was so fun. 1,000 good comments an influencer or a human being gets on a piece of content. That one negative comment among those 1,000 are what is going to probably stick with that person.
Yeah.
Traveling with 3 dogs in general is a lot.
No comment.
No comment. All right. We are back with a different setting this time.
We are on the road.
Yeah, I know. This is the first time we've taken a trip with all 3 of them. So it's been a crazy weekend, but we're in South Beach. We're in Miami this weekend. So we're excited. We're actually at an amazing hotel called the Betsy Hotel. So if you have pets and you're traveling, 10 out of 10 recommend. It is amazing. They cater to dogs of all sizes and whatever these guys are. They cater to like every dog. It's honestly amazing. The hotel has 2 CEOs, the canine executive officers. They're 2 golden retrievers.
So cute.
So cute. I know. They're so cute. We haven't met them in person yet, but hopefully we'll get to meet them before we leave. Right, Blue? I gotta say, when Corey and I first were looking for places to live when we were coming back to Florida, Miami was one of the places we were looking at. And after coming here for a weekend, I'm so happy we chose not to live here.
I don't think we could have done it.
No, I don't have the stamina for these people in Miami.
It's go, go, go all the time. People are always moving.
Partying, drinking. I feel like unless you're still in kind of like party mode, I feel like Miami is a tough place to be.
I feel like we stayed out late last night, being 10 p.m., which is late for us.
Late being like in bed at 10.
But we were walking back. We gave these guys a long walk at the end of the night, and we came back, and people were just going to dinner.
Like Europe kind of feel, where it's like people were just going to dinner so late, and I don't know if I could like do that lifestyle. Granted, obviously it's probably different if you do live here. I mean, there's a lot of influencers that live here, and they are, I gotta give credit to Alex Earl. Like, I couldn't do that. No. I really couldn't do that. That's amazing. I don't have the stamina. I was like 10 o'clock last night. I was like, I am so over being outside. I need to be in bed.
Yeah, we were nonstop yesterday with the dogs. How much did we walk yesterday? Like 8 miles?
I think like 8 miles throughout the entire day, which is a lot for like these guys to do. They're exhausted today, as you can see. Titan is curled in
sleeping.
A donut right now, and he's passed out. Also, I have to say, our merch,
our hoodies,
we are, at least maybe I've just made you into this, but I'm such a sucker for like sweatshirts in general, but like sweatshirts when I travel and like getting sweatshirts from places I visited. I don't know why, but I just love them.
You love overpriced hoodies.
Overpriced and oversized hoodies.
Yes, all for comfort. I think 90% of our closet is like your hoodies.
It is. But I live in them. It's not like I don't wear them.
Yeah. Well, you have the big closet, so.
Yeah, that's also very true. I apparently turned you on to the sweatshirt gang too.
You did?
And the oversized.
It's very comfortable. I was like, you know what? All mine are kind of small. And I was like, let's get a big one. It can be my lounging around the house.
Do you buy them a little extra small so that you feel a little bit bigger?
I like to say I'm a medium. Tight fit.
I feel like that's an intentional move on your part.
No comment.
No comment. But yeah, Miami's been so fun. We've had amazing food. The restaurant on property actually just got its first Michelin rating, I think, this past year. Corey ate about 800 fries. Usually when you ask for a side of fries at like a super nice restaurant, they give you like a good handful. Like, I won't say they like underserve you, but thankfully we only ordered one side of fries because the whole plate was filled with Parmesan truffle fries.
And they were so good.
So good.
Oh, I might order those again today.
I literally was just thinking
we've had them 2 nights in a row, and I might go for a third.
I mean, trifecta, right? What did you say earlier? So I had just go for the hat trick.
Yeah.
So yeah, but it's been amazing here. We've been exploring a lot, walking around with these guys, really just kind of taking in the sights. It's funny that I say taking in the sights. We live 20 minutes from here.
It's
Like
really not far
we
at all.
live so close to here, but the vibe, I have to say the vibe in Fort Lauderdale and the vibe in Miami are the same but different.
Yeah, I can see that.
Like maybe South Beach is a little bit more like club nightlife. Fort Lauderdale still has nightlife, but I feel like there's still a lot of like it's very flashy. It's very kind of just like in your face. And I feel like Fort Lauderdale definitely has some of that, but I feel like it's a more toned down version of Miami.
Yeah, Miami's definitely like a larger scale.
Yeah, it's intense here.
It's a lot.
I don't have the capacity for this. Like I really don't. But I love visiting. We've had an amazing trip and we're only here till tomorrow, but we'll definitely be making another trip back here with the boys because it's amazing.
But it is a lot taking all three of them.
Traveling with 3 dogs in general is a lot. And we have a whole episode on traveling, which we'll get into another day. But traveling with 3 dogs is exhausting, and making sure you have to pack 3 times as much stuff because
the valet's face when we pulled up to the car. We got out and it was just me and Emma, and we're like, he's like, oh, you're gonna need a cart. I was like, I think we're gonna need a cart.
He looked at us like, oh really?
And then 3 dogs jumped out of the car. We had Maverick's pop-up crate. We had 2 suitcases. We had all the podcast equipment. We had their suitcase with all their stuff, their dog food. They
were like, you're probably here for 2 weeks.
We could have lasted at least a week. I also overpacked. I'm so bad at this.
I've never heard those words from you in my life. You packed more than I did on this trip.
It's also 85, 90 degrees outside, and I packed 4 pairs of pants. Because we were going to go to a couple nice dinners. I was like, I got to make sure I have options.
I have no comment. That is wild.
You got to be ready.
I mean, that's fair, but like it's also to be fair, it's also like end of October, so it does get a little chillier at night. And for anyone listening that's in like a cold climate, when I say chilly, I mean 75. So like, don't come for me.
It's like a little breeze, and you're like, ooh, okay, this could be sweater weather. It could be not.
I will say, I lived in Vermont, or I guess we both lived in Vermont I lived in Vermont for 6 years. He lived in Vermont for four years. Mm-hmm. Like we know cold. Like cold is not anything that we're like not used to. But when you get used to 80, 90 degrees every single day, the second it dips below 80, you get cold.
Yeah, your body adapts.
Yeah.
So you're so used to the cold, and as soon as it's...
But people will come for me. I'll say it's 70 and it's chilly, and they're like, you should be so lucky. I'm like, yeah, but your body adapts. Like, it's just how it is. Like in Vermont, when we were in school, and there was 3 weeks where it did not get above freezing. The first day it was 25 degrees. I am not even exaggerating. There were kids in t-shirts on campus.
There's always those kids at school. You see it's like below freezing, and they're walking around in shorts.
But it was the first day it was like above 0. So they were like, oh, this is warm.
Yeah.
So again, you adapt, but I stand by my point. It was a little chilly last night. But anyway, we have a really great episode for you today. We are actually talking about online criticism and, how we manage as a couple, online hate, online criticism, trolls, pretty much every person in our comment section that's coming for us, which, you're never going to avoid that when you put your lives out there. So we're going to get into that, kind of what we've experienced, how we manage it, and then just kind of some tips for how to handle it if you're going through the same thing, or, not even influencers, but just even if you, have people texting you and there are things they'll never say to your face, but they, we call them keyboard warriors, people that will like tell you everything, behind text, but, not say it to your face. So same concept, but, we have a lot to cover today. So let's get into it.
Let's do it.
So I guess I'll ask you a question. What was like the first hate comment that you saw on our content that like stuck with you?
That stuck with me.
That like made you actually upset?
I think the first one that I can remember, and this was probably way back when we like first started, and I don't remember what the video was, but I remember the comment, and someone was like, how dare you? Like, you don't deserve to own dogs.
Yeah, that's a really hard one to get.
Yeah, and it's like, what do you mean? Like, you obviously you see these videos, like, you don't know our behind the scenes, like our lives, how we interact with the dog. Like, you get this video, especially back then when we didn't do these elaborate things where you really saw the dog's personalities and the way we interact with them. It's more just quick videos, but
I think I know what you're talking about. So I actually think I remember the video. It was one of the first TikToks that like ever went super viral. And of course, the more viral the video, the more like wide range of comments you're gonna see. And it was the one when we were at your parents' house and you got mad at Blue and he ran into the pool.
the pool deck.
People like Blue just likes to go in the pool. For
Yeah.
anybody that just for reference, Blue loves to go in the pool. And Corey, like whenever he would like even talk to him in a normal voice, he would like Blue would jump in the pool because he thought that he had to go inside. Again, he's been stubborn and refused to come inside, for years. This is nothing new for us. And Corey, Blue pooped on the side of the pool deck, and Corey was like, Blue, did you do this? And Blue ran and jumped right in the pool. And I remember these comments, and they were like, you don't deserve to own dogs. People were claiming that we were abusing our dogs, and that it was like, there's clear that there's abuse happening here. And I think that was, I know what you're talking about. And I think like, what was the first thing that like went through your head when you're like reading comments like this for the first time?
For the first, and you're looking at it like, oh my God, like, how does this come off to someone that like you're abusive, that you shouldn't own these dogs? Like, I don't know, like, just how do they interpret the content? Like, did we do something wrong? Like, should we not do this? And just all kinds of things go through your mind when you see this at the start. You're like, okay, like, people think this of you, and it's like we're putting ourselves out there with our dogs. Like,
No, it's tricky. And I think I get where you're going with it. I think what can be tricky is that there's a kind of almost like a multifaceted point here where it's like, one, people are only getting 30 to 60 seconds of an entire day or of an entire, dog's life. You're seeing 30 seconds. Yeah. For some people to come in, and a lot of people are like, I'm a dog trainer. I know abuse when I see it. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, first of all, there's no context really given to this video other than what you're seeing. I do understand the concept, and there's a argument to be made. Yes, we put ourselves online. We put our dogs' lives online. We put all of us online. So we're opening ourselves to criticism. Like, we're not denying that we're not opening that door. People are allowed to have the opinions that they have. By no stretch are we saying like people can't have opinions, but I do think that there's a difference between opinions and just simply making an assumption about the way somebody treats their animal or lives their life without any context. I think there's a clear distinction.
Yeah, and I think there's a limit too when you look at comments. Like, obviously, everyone's going to have their opinion. They have a right to their opinion about different things. But like, when you speculate how we are with our dogs and call us like abusive and stuff like that, that's where I think the line has been crossed.
Of course. And I think it's like, if you're going to then bring it to such an extreme level that you're making accusations that, first of all, are very damaging to someone's reputation. You have to remember that when you're commenting something online, the rest of the world can see it too. Like, and people have been fired for making comments on people's posts. Like, you have to understand that, like, yes, influencers like put their whole lives out there, but we're also like human beings. And I think that's there. People get so caught up in the internet, and it's almost like people who can't make a distinction between like reality and like something made up. Like, I think there's a lot of videos that are, not necessarily our videos, but there are videos out there that are edited a certain way to make something like look a certain way, or, edited to make it look like a dog's doing something that maybe like is fabricated because of the way it's the editing techniques. And people will make assumptions without understanding that there's context and there's purpose behind what somebody's doing.
And that everything's not as you see. Well, we have an episode set up this season to kind of go more in depth on this, and like the reality versus what you see on Instagram. And everything you see obviously isn't real. You can edit it a certain way. You can make things the way you want it and kind of go deep into that. So we do have a full episode on that. So we'll speak to that more later. But I get to your point. Like you can't see, and if you're new, you're seeing the one video. You don't see the other videos that we
Right.
have where we're like doing happy things and giving these guys experience and being cute and all that kind of stuff, showing a different side of our relationship with the dogs. You're seeing that one video that we made.
Right. And I think other kinds of criticism that I've received, and I think to turn the question back on myself, like the first piece of criticism I think that ever really stuck with me, and I think like actually like really hurt me deep down to the core, is I had a video with Blue and Titan where I opened a bag of chips and they like jumped on my shoulders. It was like when you have, huskies and you open a bag of food or you open a snack, and people came for me. They were like, you don't set boundaries. They made all these kinds of assumptions. I had people in my DMs telling me that they hope I never have children and they hope I'm barren because I don't deserve children.
I remember this because
Like,
this one hurt you. I remember this one stuck with you for a while.
it's really painful.
Yeah.
It is so painful to have somebody that you don't even know. And we'll get into like how you cope with it, but it's hurtful, whether you know the person or not.
Yeah.
It sucks to hear that.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to hear that. Like,
No.
and that's where I get into like, would this person have really had the guts to say this to my face?
Probably not.
No,
Yeah.
absolutely not.
No.
I will bet 90 to 95% of comments on Instagram that are negative and hurtful, people would never have the guts to say it to somebody's face.
No, and people do that too. They'll make those fake accounts so they can say stuff out there, so you can't trace back and see who they are.
My favorite thing is when people call people out on their fake accounts and they're like, you didn't even have the guts to say this from your real account.
Exactly.
And that's where it comes from. It's like, well, then what's the point?
Yeah.
Are you that miserable that you're literally hiding behind a fake account so people can't track you down? Like, that's what I don't understand is like, why did this video affect you so much to the point where you felt the need to basically tell me I don't have the rights or I shouldn't have the right or deserve children? Like, I just am like, what is wrong with you?
Yeah, and we talk about this all the time. And like, there's really two instances when people are going to comment.
Yep.
One, you really love the content. You want them to know that you love the content, or you hated the content, and that's going to strike you. Most of the people are just going to, if you don't like it, whatever, you're going to scroll past it and not give it a second thought. But like the people that put out the negative comments, you have a purpose behind it.
100%. And I also think that what's really tough, and for people who do comment on this stuff, you have to remember that for every like 1,000 good comments an influencer or a human being gets on a piece of content, that one negative comment among those 1,000 are what is going to probably stick with that person. Whether they move past it or not is different, but I think it's still going to stick with them. And I think, this is a big reason why a lot of, celebrities don't even read, they don't watch the news. They don't look at social media. They don't even look at media outlets because they know there's nothing good that's going to come from it. And I think obviously that you're looking at it like a macro scale of that. And, obviously most influencers aren't at that level, but the comment section is essentially its own form of media that you can't get away from.
Yeah, and I was going to say that too. Like, there's definitely different scales. Like, you have the people that have millions and millions of comments, like kind of the larger influencers, and you have the smaller influencers that maybe have hundreds of comments. I will say for us, we do like reading the comments a lot because 99.9% of the time it's something happy.
Yeah.
And we actually met someone today. We were at a coffee shop. Little side note here. We met someone at a coffee shop and she came in and she was like, no way it's you guys. And it just to see like her happiness on getting to meet Blue Titan and Maverick and take a picture with us, and she's like, this made my day. So like just to see things like that, like we love seeing how happy the dogs make people and put smiles on their faces and all the comments and all the happy things people have to say. But then you do see the 1% of negative comments, and I feel like no matter how many happy and good comments you see, it's always going to be the negative ones that stick out to you.
Definitely. And I think what's so funny to me is like if somebody says, they comment something on my post like, oh, you don't deserve these dogs, like something. I can't, I've had that comment so many times on my videos, but I've been told, you don't deserve your dogs. I'm in the back of my head, I'm like, what does this person want me to say? Oh my God, you're totally right. Let me go drop them all off at a shelter tomorrow.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like, what do you want me to say?
Yeah.
Like, it's just, I think it's just that I don't understand the motive other than to get under somebody's skin. But for what reason? Like, do you think that what you're saying is going to like change the world and you're going to drastically make everything better because you chose to say something negative to somebody?
Mm-hmm.
That's what I don't understand is what is their motivation? And maybe there isn't one.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe there isn't a motivation for it.
Yeah. I have a question for you. Obviously, you being kind of the primary source at the beginning
Mhm.
of this and kind of switching now where we kind of both interact and handle all the dog stuff. How did you cope with it kind of in the beginning, and then kind of how does that change now?
Yeah, actually, that's a very good question. I think in the beginning, and again, everybody handles criticism and online criticism very differently. But I think the way I handled it is I would go to the defense. I would try to defend why either again, to people who are saying like you don't deserve children, that's a totally separate
Mm-hmm.
category. But to people who are saying like, oh, this is cruel, like if I put a hat on my dog and someone's like, that's cruel, he hates it, like you're a terrible dog parent, like those kinds of comments in the beginning, I would be like, I would feel the need to defend what I was doing. I would feel the need to defend my content. I would feel the need to defend, but it was exhausting. Also, side note, Titan is snoring in the corner. It is so funny.
He is so tired.
I would feel the need to defend my content and I would feel the need to say, this is why you're wrong. But it was exhausting.
And I think it did eat away at you a little bit.
100%.
Like reading the comments. Like I know there's a few times where you've had to take breaks, but there was a lot of times where you would bring it to me and be like, "Look what this guy just said." Like, what do I say back? Like you almost felt the
Right.
need that you had to justify.
Yeah.
Like if they were like, "Oh, this dog's not trained," you had to be like, "Oh, they've been in training here,
Mhm.
here, and here at this age, this age, this age." Like feeling the need that you had to back up everything that we were doing to this person that you don't know on the internet.
Right. And I think your immediate response was, you don't owe them anything. You
Mm.
owe them nothing.
Yeah.
They're a stranger on the internet. Why do you have to defend your videos and your like dogs to somebody who doesn't even know you as a human being or know your dogs for that matter? If you know my dogs and you want to say something, I mean, maybe you have more of a point, but like, I mean, if you've never met us or you don't know my dogs and you're just going off a short clip, like, I mean, I don't know what to say. Like, you don't deserve a response from me.
Yeah. But I guess kind of to your point, like you take pride in everything you
Mhm.
do, especially when it comes to the dog social media and the video and content that we put out. Like you work so hard and you take a lot of pride in that.
But I also take a lot of pride in my dogs and my
Yeah.
family and the way I've put them through training or I've trained them myself. And I am the first to tell you, my dogs are so far from perfect. They're probably three of the most chaotic, ridiculous, unhinged, insane dogs you will ever meet in your life. I mean, no joke, Blue was humping Titan for half the time we were meeting this person at Joe and the Juice today. Like our dogs are not perfect and they never
No.
will be. And I don't want robots for dogs. I
No.
just don't. So yes, they're gonna do things that are probably not what most people would consider trained behavior.
Mhm.
Sure. But like to make the assumption on a video is a completely different story. So I think initially that's kind of was your response was like, you don't owe these people, a response at all. And for a while I stopped responding. And then I think we kind of shifted once you came into the picture. And I feel like you kind of started jumping in. And if people were being like very ridiculous, I feel
Yeah.
like you would come back with like a snarky comment. Cause like if you're going to say something ridiculous, then we have every right to be ridiculous back.
Yeah, and I think that was kind of when I came in. I was always someone that was like, I don't really care for your opinion. Like
You still don't.
what makes you a dog expert? That from my 30-second clip, you can tell me how I raise my dogs or like how well trained they are.
There's a lot of dog trainers out there.
And that's not saying that we're dog experts either, because
I
by
know.
no means I would never call
But I have
ourselves.
never met so many dog trainers
Yeah.
on the internet that just use that line as a way to make somebody feel inferior. And that is wild to me.
Yeah.
That is wild.
Yeah. But I think we tried to take the fun way, the fun route.
Right. Because you're like, all right, well, if you're going to be kind of a douchebag, then I have every right to be. You know the quote that's like, if you ask me a dumb question, don't be surprised if I come back with a sarcastic answer.
Yeah.
Like, it's the same concept. If you say something stupid or mean that I think is ridiculous, don't be surprised if I have a snarky answer. And there's people who have been like, who've actually really appreciated the way that we've responded to some things because they're so outrageous and ridiculous.
Yeah. And I wish I remembered what the comment was, that we could find it. But it was something ridiculous, and it's probably saying something that we're not, either one of the dogs doesn't like something or something. But my favorite response was, it was like, thank you for your input. Like, I'll make sure HR is informed of this, or something. It was something like that. But a lot of our followers loved that and commented. And that's another thing these days is I love our followers because we don't even have to say anything and they go to war.
They will go to bat for us in the comments. They'll get to it even if somebody like says something about Titan, but it's actually blue in the video. I don't even have a chance to comment because they've already gotten to it to say, no, that's blue. And like they will literally go to war for us in the comments.
And like, yes, it's not easy to tell the two apart when you're new or just looking at them. Obviously, they have their differences. Blue is half the size.
He's stumpy. Sorry.
Side note, we call Blue Discount because he is half the size and half the price of Titan.
So we call him, he's our little discount.
Yes, he is.
Little discount child. But people will go to bat for us. And I think it's not just that people are going to bat for us, but it's people that have followed us for long enough that have at least a better understanding of the purpose of our channel, why we exist as a channel, like who our dogs are with personality. Again, nobody on the internet really knows until you meet us or you get to know us. But there are people who have been following us for 3-4 years now and like actually really have an inside look as to like what our life is a bit more like. And I think those are the people that, you know, really go to bat for us in the comments because they're the ones that I would say feel like they understand us a little bit better.
Yeah. And what I was saying before is it could be something simple. Like, obviously, it's not easy to tell these two apart, but the people that have been with us for a long time and really know our dogs, it's quick for them. They're like, how do you not know that's Blue? Or how do you not know that's Titan?
They're kind of mean sometimes, but I love it.
Hilarious.
It's also, I think, and this is something that, you know, obviously for comments that are outright rude or different, but I think, and this happens with texting styles too, like people have a very different way of relaying information over comments or over text. Like I've had people say something in my comments and the way I read it is completely different than how they meant it. They'll say something and then I'll respond thinking the way I took it. And then they'll be like, oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean it that way. And I'm like, oh, I feel like such an ass. Cause like, you don't know how somebody means something. Like, I feel like it's the same with text messages.
Yeah.
Like the way, like if I say, you know, my mom will say K to me and I know she means okay. But if I text K to you, you're like,
World War III.
She's mad. She's really mad. So, and like, for example, another example is like, this might be a generational thing, but my mom will call me 800 times. She will text me SOS. She will text me emergency. And all she needed was to understand how to change the input on the television. I'm like, I thought the house was burning down, but I can help you.
But it's so true. And like this, it's the same way with my dad. His texting,
it stresses me out.
It is so stressful. Like
you could literally tell him you hit the lottery and he would respond with
nice,
with a period at the end.
Cool, great,
sweet is another one.
But like he could be over the moon, happy, excited for you, but all you're getting is like a nice, great, good. Like one word.
My goal is to get him to text me something more than one word when he's excited about something. The best is when I get that's awesome or that's sweet or that's nice.
It's like, oh my God, you put some effort into this one.
And that's what I mean though, is like the generational thing too is just, it's so different in how we text and the thing is, like we have such a wide demographic of followers that like I don't check all the profiles of people that are commenting. So it could be somebody who's much older that's just how they write their comments. And it's one of those things where it slips my mind sometimes. And maybe that's just like I need to be a bit better about like taking people's comments at face value right away, because maybe it's not how they meant it, or maybe it is, but I need to sometimes slow down and actually read the comment. Or if I'm skeptical about who commented it or what happened, like maybe look at their profile, see what they're about. They could be somebody with, it's a total like spam account and it's just, somebody trolling.
Or you just got to think, is it worth it?
Can you open this for me,
Absolutely.
please?
Also, my new favorite thing is these mini Alanis.
This is not a plug. This is literally our favorite energy drink.
We were in Walgreens grabbing some supplies for the room.
They're so cute.
They're so cute, which are perfect for Emma because she'll take like 3 sips of one and then just leave it everywhere. So we found these mini ones and
they have 100 milligrams. Oh my God, that wasn't English. That I need because that was not English.
Is her translator here?
They have. Thank you. They have 100 milligrams of caffeine. They are so cute.
Yeah.
Like, come on. It hits the spot. If I put it up there, I'm going to knock it down. So, but I think that's another big thing. So kind of getting into how we handle it. I think if it's really bothering us, we'll talk about it. And I think we'll talk about it. And sometimes there are things that we've even had to kind of talk each other down from. Like, hey, look, this is just some, jackass on the internet that's just miserable, having a bad day, or just like likes to troll for fun. That's just how they spend their time. Which if that's you, please find a hobby. Please find a hobby. Yeah. Like I can't stand the people that just like, if you, I know we're not in kindergarten, but like if you have nothing nice to say, just like don't say it. It costs $0 to keep scrolling and not comment on something.
That is your favorite line.
I've said that to so many people at this point. I think it's like being overused, but I don't even care because it's like you took time out of your day to watch this video of an adorable dog and say the meanest thing you could possibly say. Like, get a life.
Yeah. Get a life. I think we've gone through that a lot where either it's you or I, but we'll see a comment like that and we'll have this full passive aggressive response laid out. And then we run it by the other person. It's like, is it really worth it? Like,
most of the time the answer is no.
No.
And again, everybody handles online criticism very differently. And I do think that there are times when like people who are nasty do need to be called out. Like, I think that there are people who say things that deserve to be put on blast, deserve to be, showed to others that, this person's, a terrible person. But I think there's a time and a place for it. And I think that it's also exhausting to put all of your energy into like these people that like are haters, and they're just haters to hate. There's no reason. Like, and I think that's the biggest thing is like, we try so hard to really focus on the positives and read comments about people telling us how much better we made their day or how much joy these dogs bring to them. And it's like, you have to just sometimes really focus on those moments and really take that in and just take a mean comment sometimes for what it is. A mean comment. These people don't know you. They're saying stuff to get under your skin, to be an ass. And that's it.
Yeah, you kind of got to think about it like, where is my energy going to be best suited? Like, obviously, doing content with these guys is so much. We love to respond to comments and engage with our community. And the amount of energy it takes to respond to some of these people that have negative or hateful comments, it just isn't worth it.
I could spend all day thinking about these comments, thinking about a response to these comments, thinking about, how I'm going to deal with it. But I think at a certain point, it's exhausting. And I think that that's where a lot of creators get burnt out. They get burnt out from, there's big creators who get absolutely hammered with comments that are negative. And it takes such a horrendous toll on their mental health. And I feel for them. I really do, because I know what it's like to sit there and think, oh my God, like, am I a terrible dog parent? Am I a bad person? Do I deserve kids? Like, to even have had those thoughts because a
Mhm.
stranger on the internet thought that they knew me better than I knew myself, that is where I really have the issue.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of the point, is where it's reached you mentally where you're believing these things.
Right. And I would say something that I think is really helpful that we're trying to do more of. It is okay to take a social detox. It is okay to take a break.
Yes.
Your followers are still going to be there when you come back. No one's no one's leaving you. Like, your followers are still there. You know, you don't even have to announce that you're taking a break. Like, take a week off. Just, you know, sometimes I've even known people to just to delete the app for a week, come back, refresh, and like maybe a week's not enough, maybe 2 weeks, maybe even 24 hours is enough for you. Like, it's just important to mentally detox yourself because there's so much hate and harm, hate and harm that people are trying to promote on social media. And obviously it's worse than it's ever been because that's where everybody lives their lives.
Yeah.
But it's so important to take that detox.
Yeah, and I think we've done that many times. We're like, okay, we just need a day or two. Just forget about the app. Stop looking at comments, responding to people.
We did it yesterday.
We did.
We did it yesterday.
Yeah.
We like posted stories, but we didn't look at our comments. We really just kind of took a back seat. And again, it doesn't need to be full detox where you delete the app, but it's like you're just not investing your time. Like, most of our day yesterday was really focused on spending time with the dogs and really, really that kind of family bonding time. And I think that's really important too when content creation is all about filming your life 24/7. You need to find those breaks.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing is your mental health.
100%.
Especially in influencing, and if you've had the chance to kind of experience this, like, it's such a roller coaster. Like, you got the highs, you got the lows. You're always wondering, how am I going to perform? Then you have people telling you
You're not good enough.
you're not good enough. Like, you don't deserve children, and like it all builds up.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you just need to separate and escape that kind of reality and just focus on your mental health.
I've said it 100 times and I'll say it again. I think everyone on this earth needs to have a therapist to talk to.
Blue's my therapist.
Blue's the reason I need a therapist. No, I love this. I love this guy. But I think that, like, I do think it's important, first of all, that everyone has someone to talk to that's not in the space, or, that's an unbiased party that can actually give you their 2 cents, because people who are too close to it are obviously going to have a biased opinion. And, it's tough to kind of really take that with at depth, because you need somebody that really needs to look at it like with a blank slate, who doesn't really, know the ins and outs, that really just needs to look at it and kind of provide insight onto like how to manage things like that.
Yeah, you need kind of like a neutral third party, like
A therapist.
Yeah.
So a therapist. Everything we just described is literally therapist. This doesn't just relate to social media comments. I mean, I think that influencers get it really bad because of how much their lives are out there. And I'll preface again, we choose to put our lives out there, which means that we're choosing to open the door for criticism and choosing to open the door for people to make comments or make judgments. And that's totally fine. But if you're somebody that is thinking about commenting on someone's post, think about what impact that is going to have on somebody. Think about what that is going to do to a person's mental health. Is that comment really necessary?
Mm-hmm.
Think about that. Is this comment going to change the way that this person is acting? Is it really going to make a difference? And I think, obviously, you can do what you want. You're, an adult, or whoever you are. You're a human being that has the right to make their own choices. But just keep that in the back of your head whenever you're commenting things. If it really bothers you, absolutely, you have every right to say something and, offer your opinion. But also remember how you're saying things too. You don't have to be a jackass every time you comment. You can say it with your opinion, and the person may not like your opinion, but an opinion is,
Yeah,
That's what
I
it
mean,
is.
it's human nature to make opinions and assumptions on everything you see, but to the extent, like, is it really worth it?
And is potentially harming somebody's mental health for telling them, for saying to somebody, you don't deserve your dogs, or a horrible dog parent. Is that worth it to you to make somebody feel
Yeah.
awful? So just something to consider. And I think a tip for, creators or anybody that deals with people in their lives that are kind of what I'd call a keyboard warrior, just remember that, like, if they don't have the guts to say this to your face, you don't have to take what they're saying seriously
Yeah.
necessarily.
Don't put any effort into it.
Yeah.
Just
I would say yes, sometimes like texting or, writing something down is a better way to articulate how you're feeling, and that's okay. But would this person also have this conversation with you face to face? And that's the biggest thing that I always say is, I don't think any of these people on the internet would ever have the guts to look me in my eyes and say, you deserve to be barren. I don't think
no,
any of these people would,
no.
do that. So I think that's the biggest piece. And that would be my advice for creators or anyone who, deals with something like this. And that's also my advice. Blue got excited. And that's also my advice for people commenting, just be mindful of what you're doing.
Yeah.
But that is our main topic today. Of course, if you have any comments, questions, want to continue the discussion, our DMs are always open to chat about it. Feel free to write us, on our website. This is always an open discussion. And again, we always preface by saying these are also our opinions.
Yeah.
And you may not share the same opinions, and that's completely fine. But don't come for us in the comments. That's all I have to say.
We'll fight back.
Corey will fight back.
Blue will fight back.
Blue's the one to actually, you know what? Blue's the one that responds to all comments. So say whatever you want. He's pretty feisty. He can handle it.
I wonder if I'm winning in fantasy.
You're definitely not winning in fantasy this week.
All right. We'll find out later.
That's going to determine your mood for the rest of the night, isn't it?
Yeah, well.
Remember the first week of fantasy when I beat you?
Try to block that one out.
What did I beat you? I beat you by like 40 points.
Yeah, it was bad.
I will let Corey kick off our bucket list segment this week.
Our bucket list number 2.
This one was so fun.
It was fun, and I think this might have been a bucket list thing for me. But for our second bucket list item, we rented a Slingshot for the boys to drive around.
If you don't know what a Slingshot is, it's basically a reverse tricycle car. I think I just made it so much more complicated by trying to explain it like that. It's a car with 2 wheels in the front and 1 in the back.
Slingshot. Just Google it. It's worth the Google.
Yeah, you also can Google it. So,
but we were looking at it and we were doing it. We're like, okay, what do dogs like to do? And one of the biggest things that our dogs like to do is, and I'm sure most dogs out there, is just stick your head out the window.
Yeah.
So we're like, okay, how do we take that and make it more exciting for them, but also for ourselves?
Yeah. And a note, I'm pretty sure that in Florida, dogs sticking their head out the window is actually illegal. So, which, I mean, actually a very good law to have, because I'm sure there's been many accidents with dogs. So we were like, well, we want to give them the ultimate head out the window, top down experience.
Wind in your face.
Yep. The best. And we did it.
So we rented a Slingshot for a couple hours just to drive these guys around, and they didn't want to get out.
No, Titan actually refused to get out. He doesn't want to get in the car. He doesn't want to get out of the car. I cannot. This dog is very confusing.
Yeah. But Blue being the oldest, he had to ride first. But we just took it around town. We took it down by the beach and just let them get the air. And I don't think I've ever seen them happier.
No, they had their like snouts up in the air and they were just like taking in all the wind. It was so cool. The way it worked is the rental was based out of a hotel in downtown Fort Lauderdale. Alani's doing a number. We parked at the hotel, and then they were based like right. I feel like I've said this before. I don't know if I need more caffeine, if I need less caffeine. I'm really not sure what's going on right now.
Are you good?
Nope. Anyway, we.
So the way it worked, as I was trying to say 9 times.
Oh, my brain's
You
not working
got it?
today. No, you can go. Your turn. Okay. The way it worked is we pulled up to the hotel, we parked, and then they had them like up in the garage. So they brought one down. We didn't bring the dogs with us to start because we wanted to like actually figure out how to drive it. It drives very similar to a golf cart. Kind of the operations of it are
The
more
push to go, it'll stop automatically.
the neutral to like keep it from going
Yeah.
anywhere. Like it drives more like a golf cart than an actual car, but obviously a lot faster than a golf cart. It has an engine. I don't do golf carts run on batteries or engines? I think batteries, right?
There's both, but most
Oh,
of them are
okay.
battery operated.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Anyway, this one runs on an engine and does it run on an engine?
Yeah, you had to put gas in it.
Oh, see, I didn't put gas in it. You did.
We might have to fact check this before we post this episode, but yeah.
Well,
No, we prepaid for the gas.
you're right. So it is gas. So it does run on an engine.
Why am I singing Sports Center?
Is that the Sports
I
Center?
think so.
You've been watching too much Sports
I
Center.
have.
Aren't you losing this week?
No, we're making a dramatic comeback. Have faith.
After week 1, I don't have faith.
Yeah, I got absolutely demolished by Emma's team week 1. But, the team had a long meeting. We're fighting back.
Yeah.
We're ranked 1 and 2 in the league right now.
We are actually power duo over here. We are ranked 1 and 2. We figured that if we stay on this course, A, we won't have to play each other when it comes to playoffs. And B, if either of us win, we both win.
Exactly.
So I do hope your team wins, unless I'm playing them. So there's that. But anyway, we took the Slingshot back to the apartment and we kind of just basically figured out how it worked. We wanted to make sure that like we were safe. We have these leashes that are also that at the end of them, it clips on like a normal leash to the harness. And the end of them has actually like a belt, like a seatbelt buckle clip. So you can actually buckle them into the seat, which was really nice because obviously like there aren't doors like a car. And, obviously you have to be extremely careful when it comes to, doing this. But we had them clipped in. Obviously we didn't go very fast. We had our hand like usually around the harness for most of the time while they got comfortable. So it definitely took like them getting used to it, but they all were honestly amazing. They sat there, they took, they enjoyed the wind in their face and they did great.
Yeah. And for Blue too, he gets so much anxiety in the car and usually hates being in the car. He was silent. He just enjoyed it. We went down by the beach and he saw a lot of people and he was just enjoying every moment of it.
Yeah, he had a blast. It was really fun. I would definitely recommend it. Obviously, I don't know where Slingshots are available for most people. I've actually only seen them in Fort Lauderdale and Miami. They definitely exist in other places. But you'll just have to look up like Slingshot rentals near me. And I'm sure there's a local company. I also would double check that they're dog friendly. One of the things we had to make sure because they are expensive vehicles. So like some companies may not allow it, but we just had a conversation with the owner and we were like, hey, look, we put a towel down to make sure that their claws wouldn't dig into the leather. We made sure that all our precautions were taken. We were safe. So just some things to keep in mind, but it was really fun. And if you ever have the chance to bring your dog in a Slingshot, I highly, highly recommend it.
Yeah. It's like the ultimate car ride for them.
It really is. So I think the last thing we have is we have one question this week for Ask the Spare.
Let's do it.
Are you ready for it?
I'm always ready.
This is a question that we've actually gotten from a lot of our followers before, but we had somebody reach out directly to ask this question. The question was, with 2 huskies in Florida, how do they manage it? Are they okay? They're northern breed dogs. Like, how do they manage the Florida heat?
this might be the number one question we get, and not just from followers or social media, but like anyone you see walking around downtown. It's
We
always the first thing. It's like, oh, these huskies, like, how do they do with the heat? Is always the number one question.
I've gotten so annoyed at this question with how many times we've been asked in person. And it's like almost hard at this point for me to like not get annoyed. But obviously, these people are asking for the first time. But I get almost like unnecessarily annoyed.
Yeah, I mean, when you hear it that many times, it's like you can only explain yourself so many times. But Blue lived most of his life in Vermont, and then we moved down to Florida for a year, and then we were up in Boston. Titan we got when we were living down in Florida, so at a young age he was living down here in Florida, and then Maverick has lived his whole life in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the easiest and best way to say it is you just manage it.
Right. And I would say that, like, first of all, for a lot of people that don't know, huskies have double coats. Their double coats not only keep them warm when it's cold out, but it actually keeps them cool. It regulates body temperature is what it does, which is why you should never, ever, ever, ever shave a husky unless it's medically necessary, because you're actually removing their ability to regulate their temperature if you shave them. So that's one of the biggest things I'll say. People have literally asked us, oh, do you plan on shaving them? And I'm like,
Never.
nope, never, ever in my life will I ever plan on shaving my dog unless it's medically necessary. But I will say that, it keeps them cool. And just like any dog in extreme heat in Florida, like no one should be taking their dog outside when it's 95 degrees.
No.
Husky, Chihuahua, Lab, I don't care what kind of dog you have. You should not be walking your dog for excessive periods of time in the middle of July in Florida.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of my favorite thing to respond. Like, obviously you let them know. It's like, okay, their undercoat, kind of the same thing it does. It keeps them warm in the winter, but it also keeps them cool in the summer. And you kind of respond. My favorite response is, well, how do you handle the heat in Florida? You manage it. If it's too hot, you're not going outside. You're not going for these long walks. You find those times like early in the morning when it's cooler, or late at night when the sun's gone down, to give them their majority of their exercise.
Right. And it is true. They probably get a little bit hotter than some breeds that may not have as much fur. And that's probably the case. I don't know that much about other dog breeds, but I will say, like, Maverick, Blue, Titan, anybody we know with dogs, they all handle it the same way in Florida. It doesn't matter what kind of dog you have. You have to be mindful and, like, know your dog's limits. Like, Blue can be in the heat a lot longer than Titan can.
Yeah.
But that also stands for the cold. Blue can be outside in the cold for a lot longer than Titan can. And it's just simply a dog. It varies dog to dog.
Yeah. And I would say, like, we always say too, like, our dogs want to be outside. They don't care how hot or how cold it is. They just love being outside.
I've left the balcony door open before, and it was 92 degrees. I remember this. We were in St. Pete. It was 92 degrees outside. And they opted to sit on the balcony in 92 degrees and roast in the sun over being inside in the air conditioning. Like, they chose it. So,
yeah.
I mean, you tell me.
Yeah. We have one spot up on our couch right now. It's actually the bed that I bought Blue that he didn't want. That's a whole
Titan sleeps on it, though.
Titan loves that bed. And during the middle of the day, the sun beats down on it. So Titan was laying up there all day, and he came over when I was working, and I gave him a hug, and I was like, oh my God, you're on fire. Like, why is your fur so hot?
He likes to sunbathe.
But he just wants to sit there and sunbathe. He's a cat.
I was going to say he's like me. He's like me. He likes to sunbathe.
You love the sun.
Yes, I do. And clearly Titan takes after me. No, but him and Storm will actually sunbathe in the same spot.
Mm-hmm.
And Storm will, like, stretch out in the sun. It's really cute. And I think that, like, again, it varies dog to dog, but to answer the question, we manage it just like anybody else manages dogs in the summertime. When it's cooler, obviously they can last a lot longer for walks. And when it's really hot and we can't take them outside to get their energy out, we do lick mats, we do enrichment. We find other ways to get their energy out with, like, mental stimulation that doesn't require physical exercise, because I don't want to go for a run in 96 degrees, and I don't think they would either.
Yeah, if it's too hot for me, it's too hot for them.
Absolutely.
And that's kind of what we've been doing down while we're in Miami right now. It's like we've been getting up early. We got up like 6:00 this morning, took them down to the beach, see the sunrise, and kind of our long walk. We were out for 2.5 hours walking with them. And then kind of when the sun comes up, we're inside. It's their nap time.
Yep.
They can cool down. That's Titan was actually sleeping in the bathtub in the shower when we got back because the tile was cold. But you just find ways to manage it. You work around the heat.
Yeah, we're just going to keep doing what we're doing. It's been working for us, and we'll just find ways to continue to, my favorite thing to do with them is actually get them a kiddie pool with ice during the middle of the day. It makes them so happy.
Mhm.
And eventually we will have a house with a pool and they'll be able to cool down in the water. And
Blue just woke up.
Blue did.
He heard
Blue
pool
did.
and he
He
goes,
heard
"Wait,
pool
what?"
and he was like, "Wait." So, but yeah, it's you manage it the way you manage anything else. You know your dogs, every dog, it varies, and you got to just make sure that you're catering to each of your dog's needs.
Yeah. Know your dog.
Know yourself.
Yeah.
But anyway, that is pretty much everything for this episode. We have so much more to come this season. We are going to start having our guest appearances this season, which we're really excited for. My mom's actually going to be here talking about something. His sister's going to be here. And then we have additional, influencers and people that we are interviewing around. I don't want to ruin all the topics.
Don't spoil it all.
I'm not going to spoil the topics, but really exciting stuff. We have our move in a couple weeks, so we may be taking a week off in a few weeks to be determined.
I'm so excited.
But we will have actually we're actually building like a podcast studio in our house, which we're super excited about. So stay tuned for that. There's going to be a lot of unhinged moments when we move. We're very excited.
The boys have a yard.
Big yard.
A lot of fun's going to happen in that yard.
Yeah.
A lot of chaos in that yard.
A lot of chaos. But thank you so much. If you are coming from social media, thank you so much for following us and supporting us. And if you're coming from the platform in which you're listening on, please follow us on social media. Our Instagram is I'm Blue the Siberian, and our TikTok is the same name with an extra N at the end. And then please find us online at goldenhuskyboys.com. There's a form to submit your questions. Please submit your questions. We want to answer as many as we can this season. There's, a lot of episodes, a lot of questions to answer. So please submit your questions. And I think that's pretty much everything.
I think that's it. I think Blue might be too tired to take us out this time. So I think we
might get some snoring.
We might get some snoring. But we do have a first-time visitor on the podcast.
We're going to go grab him. You want to talk about chaos? You want to talk about unhinged? Here comes the most chaotic member of this family. We'll have to start including this. It's going to be called Mavi Minute, and it's just a little bit of Maverick every time we do the podcast. Oh, hi, baby.
Fresh off his nap.
Fresh off a nap.
Come here. Oh, boy.
Fresh off a nap and ready to rock and roll. Look at that Swiffer sweeper go. He's ready for his close-up.
He will become a full-time podcast host.
He's a little much energy right now for full-time employment.
Yeah, he's still working on the whole settling down. He's actually been amazing on this trip. Maverick, please do not eat the equipment. Please.
Maverick, come here. Come here. You lay down?
Good boy.
Nope. Okay.
Want to say something? Want to say something?
No, don't hit the mic. Maverick. No. Oh, this mic is soaking. It smells like dog breath.
We're gonna have to mark that mic. That is forever your mic. Hi, buddy. Can you give everyone the happy squeals?
It just smells like Maverick's breath. Mavy. All right. Well, with that, we should probably go take these guys on another little.
Don't say the word.
Walk.
Oh,
Look at those ears perk up.
Blue, you want to go for a walk?
Blue, you want to go for a walk? Come here. Come here. Blue is awake. Maverick is very awake, and we are ready to. We're ready to. No. Say hi, Mav. No.
He hasn't found his voice.
No. Maverick is soon to be a full-time employee on this podcast when his puppy energy is no longer. Maverick, you good boy. Don't eat my mic.
Blue, come here.
All right, everybody. We're gonna go handle these three before Maverick eats our equipment. So,
Bye.
bye, everybody. No, Maverick, no.